Hey, everybody, welcome back to another fantastic edition of the His and Her Money Show, where we make it our business to help you take dominion over your money and your life. Thank you for tuning in because you could be tuned in other places, but the fact that you are here rocking with the His and Her Money Show makes us grateful. So thank you. Listen, you're going to get all types of wisdom and insight from this episode that you need to share. Don't be stingy with the information. Help your friends and family get free too by sharing this with them. Text it to them, put it on your social media. And when you do so, make sure you tag us at His and Her Money so that we can show you love right back. And do us a favor, if you're listening to this on a podcasting platform, please leave a review and let everybody know that this is a show that they should be rocking with too. You are going to love today's episode because we're going to be talking about money, but not just in any old way. We're going to be learning what our Bible, the book for me, says about our money and what it means to look to the principles and wisdom from the Bible and apply it to our personal finance journey. And to help us along the way, we have a special guest by the name of Kayla Walter, who's going to unpack some things that's going to help us think a little bit clearly on how we should engage our finances. So get your pen and paper ready, get your notes app open, and be prepared to write down all the jewels that are about to be dropped on this episode. So let's get Kayla on so we can hear her wisdom and advice on this matter. Hey, Kayla, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hello, how you doing?
We are doing well. We are so excited to have you here because you have some insight and some knowledge to share with us all that we all need to adhere to. But before we start talking about your wisdom and your advice, for those being introduced to you for the first time, can you say hello to them and then let them know what you are all about?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Walter. I am a certified financial planner by profession, but I also help single millennial women use their faith to better manage and increase their income in their everyday life because, everybody wants to be, not to say like the hot girl, but, we want to live life and we want to live life to the fullest because, we only get one. And, a lot of people, I find a lot of women have that same um, that same story of every time I want to go somewhere, my friends never want to go. Or, you try to plan something and nobody's ready. So it's like, okay, it's just, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's go ahead and put you in a position, so that you can do all the things you want to do and not just waiting on your friends or waiting to get married to go places and to do things. If you want to buy the house, buy the house. If you want to buy the car, buy the car. If you want to take the trip, let's take the trip. And so that's what I like to help single women of faith do.
Awesome, awesome. Now, for people of faith, they don't always look to their Bibles when it comes to their money. They look to their Bibles when it comes to learning about prayer. They look to their Bibles when it comes to learning about faith. They look to their Bible when it comes to learning about just the faith that they are subscribing to and how to get deeper in it. But, when we think about money, we like to run to every other book except the good book. So for you, how did it become a focal point for you in your own personal finance journey that made you say, you know what, I'm going to extract wisdom from the word of God to figure this money thing out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier, I do have a background in finance. So I do have a bachelor's and a master's degree in finance from Louisiana State University. Go Tigers. And so as I was going through these classes and started it was kind of like a funny story how I even got into personal finance classes. But as I got into them and started learning all about it, I was just like, oh my God, this information's been here this entire time. Like, why didn't I know this? Why didn't my parents know this? And a couple years ago, I was sitting down and I don't even know why the thought struck me. And I was just like, I'm going to look up every scripture in the Bible that talks about money. Don't even know why. Just decided I'm going to do it. And that was a couple years ago. And probably a few months ago, I decided to look back at it. Like I pulled the document off my computer and I was looking at it. And I was like, man, I paid a whole lot of money for an education that's right here. Like, all in these scriptures, like a whole lot of money. Literally, I was like, oh, okay. So the Bible talks about savings. It talks about debt. It talks about investments, and it talks about how to keep keep your mind focused and like how you should be living your life, like legit living your life. My dad used to say this thing about the Bible. Bible stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth, and it's true. Everybody's like, oh, money didn't come with the manual. But as I was looking at these scriptures, I was like, but it actually did. It actually really did. And so I decided to put it all together in a guide that I like to call the Believer's Guide to Faith and Money. Talking about savings, talking about debt, talking about investments, talking about mindset, and talking about giving, because it's literally all in there.
So you have this background in money from a traditional education setting, and then you went on this spiritual education journey for money as well. What did what you learned personally do for your financial situation as you began to unpack the scriptures that you were learning about?
Absolutely. Honestly, it was more of like, oh my gosh, like one, didn't know this existed, and then two, it completely, when you realize what the scriptures say about money, it completely changes the way you think about it. Because most people, especially people of color who are raised in church, you think about money in traditional sense of, oh, I pay my tithes so God is going to bless me, or I you go to work for money, and money is always hard to come by, and we always praying for financial breakthroughs and stuff like that. But when you get into the scriptures and you realize how to think about it, actually how to think about it, you know, it no longer becomes what one of my mentors likes to call like a beggar prayer, like Lord bless me, because I did this, that, and the other, and I gave, and I did these things and I paid my tithes, and it turns to, it turns your prayer more into a, like, Lord, I'm planting the seed, because you are the Lord of the harvest, like you give seed to the sower, and you're the God who's going to multiply these things. So it completely like transitions thinking, especially for me. Like when I got into it and started really reading it and seeing like, okay, it's already here. You already told me what to do with my investments. You already told me how to save, and we already have stories and pictures of how to save. With Joseph, and being over Egypt, and the 7 years of feast led into the 7 years of famine. That's a strategy. Like that's your strategy right there. And just all of these other great stories in the Bible that we kind of hear, but we don't think about them from a practical application standpoint, and think of it more of like, oh thank like a oh thank you Jesus, words of encouragement, but not how can I apply this to my life. And so for me, like applying this to my life is like, okay, so now, I mean, I've always kind of had systems, but when I realized it, I was like, okay, now I can optimize my system, because we all know life goes in cycles. Everybody knows the stock market goes in cycles. Everything will go in cycles. There will always be times of feast. There will always be times of famine. And you learn to systematize your money in each season, so that when it hits, you aren't like left out. And so even in my own experience of having that time of feast where I was able to put away money, and then moving into a season of famine, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not stressed because I already did what I was supposed to do in a feasting season that was going to protect me in the famine season. And it just, life goes up and down. And so that's kind of been one of the transformational benefits of just getting in and reading and applying.
Based on all the people that you've helped along the way on this journey, where do most of us get it wrong when it comes to how we approach our personal finances?
One, I would say most people get it wrong without having a system. Most people never taught money. They don't actually go and learn about money. And so they think, oh, I make money to pay bills. Not I make money to leave a legacy. Not just for me, not just for my children, but for my children's children, which are grandchildren. I don't think anybody thinks about the fact that children's children actually means grandchildren. So that's two generations that you have to prepare for, not just in the here and now, but for when you are also gone. I think so. That's one of the ways I think people get it wrong, is like not having a system, and then also being intimidated to ask the people who know what they don't know about how they can do it. And also they automatically, they count themselves out automatically when someone introduces an opportunity. Oh, I don't have money for that. Why do you say that? Who told you that? you know? So this one of that's how I think people get it wrong.
Dope. Now, for people that are like, you get their ears are perking up as you are, unpacking this, and they may have in their mind, okay, where do I begin? You're right. I haven't been doing this. I haven't been having the right mentality. I haven't looked in the Bible at all when it comes to my money. Where should they begin this journey?
I would say you begin honestly. My favorite book in the Bible is Proverbs. And I mean, we know it as the book of wisdom. And I know there are plenty of people who have probably read this book over and over again. And, everybody wants to be rich like Solomon, you know, but no one actually takes Solomon's wisdom and applies it to their life, you know? And so that's honestly where you start. That's honestly where I feel like you should start is start in the book of Proverbs. There's so much in there that you can apply to your everyday life, from savings to investments. Well, I'd say Proverbs and Ecclesiastes are actually my two favorite books, both written by Solomon, obviously, and they're fantastic. Like the wisdom in both of those books, valuable, hugely valuable.
Nice. Nice. So now I know that you have 5 pillars when it comes to us looking at the Bible and trying to apply the principles there to how we handle money. So, what's the first pillar that you want us to know about?
Absolutely. So the first pillar is what I like to call the savings pillar. So believers are savers. And we see in Proverbs, like the wise have wealth and luxury, but the fool squanders everything away. Don't be a squanderer, don't be a fool. Have something set aside. Going back to the story of Joseph when, he was over Egypt and he had the dream about the 7 years of feast and the 7 years of famine. What did he do in those 7 years of feast? He made them put aside 20%. He did a 20% tax, you know, on everybody. And so when those 7 years came, everybody was good. Nobody, and they could come to Egypt and get the grain and stuff that they need, and nobody had to go without because they prepared in a season of feast for the season of famine. And so that's what your savings is for you to do. Prepare in your seasons of feast for your seasons of famine because they're gonna come. It's gonna happen. Just as sure as death is gonna happen, a season of famine is going to happen in your life. So it's just best to go ahead and prepare for it and save for it.
So, did you use that number? Do you encourage us to use that number, or is that just a kind of a fun fact when you talked about how he was putting for the kingdom 20% to the side? Is that something that you said, you know what, that's what I'm gonna do, or what would be your advice there on how much maybe we should be trying to save on a regular basis to prepare?
Yeah, honestly, I would say start with 10%. If you can do 20, even better. But even taken from my traditional education, the younger you are, the less you have to start with. So if you're just starting out, 10 to 15% is great. If you're, over the hill, kind of on the down end of your career, you need to up that and probably be somewhere in the 20 to 30% range of savings, from a traditional standpoint. But I think that story is a great highlight as to, where you can start and just using percentages. Like a lot of people like to get stuck on dollar amounts. That will easily discourage someone who's not making, the same level of income as someone else if you just hear them spitting out dollar amounts. So I love percentages for that reason because anybody can apply a percentage, to their life.
So, all right, let's go on to the next pillar. What's the next one you want us to know about?
Absolutely. So the second pillar is investing. And I like to call it believers are investors.
You
And
mean the Bible talks about investing? Are you sure, Kayla?
I am absolutely sure the Bible talks about investing, and it literally says to, divide your investments, in different places because you never know which one is going to pop, and you're going to find that. I believe it's in Ecclesiastes. Like that's where you find it talk about investing. Like plant your seeds in different places. You never know which one is going to pop. So don't just go all in on one thing. When they, as the old folks used to tell us, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We kind of think about that as just kind of like hearsay or, all that kind of stuff. But it also is applicable to investing as well. Find some different investments that you want to invest in and use your money to make money. This guy I follow on Instagram, he has this saying, and I don't know if he's trademarked it, he should, because I think it's fantastic. It's like, get money by income. And that's literally what you need to do, get money by income.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, do you have any ideas there? Somebody might be like, oh, right, that sounds good. That's kind of hard. Get money by income. Hmm. You got any like practical ideas on or examples how that can play out in our lives?
Absolutely. So even one of the best things you can do, and this is something that even I have been learning about, is that the Bible talks about business all the time, and it talks about having a business all the time. So even if you're working a job, that doesn't mean you can't have a business on the side that you could eventually flip into your full time income. So that's one way to get money by income. You put it in a profit income generating business, or you get your money from your job and putting in income producing assets, creating a dividend portfolio, you know, just investing in anything that's going to grow over time. Real estate, people love real estate, but income producing assets is where it is. You get your money from your job and you put it into income producing assets, not stuff that's going to depreciate or stuff that's not going to yield any benefit 10, 20 years down the line.
All right, y'all. Y'all gotta use your money to go and buy some income. You heard it here. Now I hope y'all put that to use. Y'all don't hear nothing else. I hope y'all put that to use, man, because that's a game changer right there. And it's biblical. It's in Ecclesiastes. It says that you are supposed to put your investments in seven things, yay, eight, because you never know what trouble may show up, guys. So listen, if you love Jesus, you got to invest because that's in his word. I love it. Thank you so much for breaking down investing. Now, on to pillar number three, Kayla. What's next?
Yes. So the third one is believers pay their debt. I mean, obviously, we always hear, oh no man, nothing but to love him, right? And what I've been also listening to other people about and getting, I feel like, a better education on is that debt is only bad in the sense of you're not using it to provide wealth. So it was never in a sense of don't ever get into debt. It's okay if you're using the debt and you're going to build wealth, because now you're showing that, okay, I'm a good risk, and what I'm going to do with this money is going to produce wealth for me and my family, and I'm definitely going to pay you back. But if you just taking on debt just to take on debt, like, oh, I'm just going to swipe my credit card for these shoes, or I'm just going to swipe my credit card to go on this vacation, that's not income producing. Using debt for income producing activities as well, and then paying it back on time. You don't owe people just to say you owe them, especially if you're not doing anything with the money that you are borrowing from them. So it's best to just, if you're not going to use it to invest in anything, then go ahead and make sure you don't owe people anything.
Facts. It can be used, but don't stay there. It don't have to be a lifestyle. It can be a temporary pain for a long-term gain. But the key is if you got it, hurry up and get up out of it, man. Thank you for sharing. Pillar number three, believers. It is unbiblical to have a debt lifestyle, to be using debt recklessly, to be burdening yourself and preventing yourself from doing what we talked about earlier as far as leaving a legacy. If all you're doing is accumulating debt that is keeping you and your money going away from the legacy that you're trying to create for yourself and your children's children. All right. Now we've covered savings, we've covered investing, we've covered debt. What else does the Bible tell us? What's the next pillar?
All right. The next pillar is you got to give. You have to give. You hear all the time that you are blessed to be a blessing. One of my friends likes to say, she's like, I will not be God's best kept secret. And you shouldn't be either. Like, when you get, you should also give. And it's not from a standpoint of how much you give. Your heart needs to be postured in right standing. Like, I'm doing this because I believe in the pillar of prosperity. I believe in the concept of prosperity. I believe in giving without expecting anything in return. I believe that the money ain't mine to begin with, so why am I hoarding on to it? Like, the Lord gives and he takes away. And he gave me the power to get this money. So obviously I can freely give it because I know he's already given me the power to create wealth. Like, that's already inside of me. So there's no reason for me to hoard anything that I get because it's not mine anyway.
Now, what would be your advice on giving with wisdom? Because some people they give at the expense of themselves because they, hey, the Lord loves a cheerful giver. So, in your teaching and helping others, how do you help them find balance in it?
Absolutely. So for a lot of people, and I come across this, they love to, help their family and stuff like that. So if you're in a position where you are constantly helping your family, or you want to be in a position to where people are going to come to you and ask for money, go ahead and include that in your monthly budget. Just like kind of already create like a sinking fund and put that aside for like giving. And so that way when people ask you for something, you can just pull it from that bucket of money instead of ruining your own cash flow every single month just to give, at your own detriment. You know, you can't provide for other people without providing for yourself. You know, when you're riding a plane, they always tell you put your oxygen mask on first and then help somebody else. That's what you got to do. And sometimes, if you don't have it at that point in time, or if you know what you're giving, you need, don't ever give with expectation of return. So if you can't afford to give it, then you don't need to give it. And sometimes saying no is hard, and it doesn't always have to be a permanent no. It can be a not right now. As we say, delayed, not denied. It's like, I can't help you right now, but when I get me together, then I can help you out. And you also don't want to enable people either. So, and that can be another tough conversation, because if people are always coming back to you because they know you're going to do it, like now you've enabled them and you literally created a monster that depends on you. So learning to say no is one thing, um, to giving towards people, and then also creating it in your budget, setting up a line item so that way you're not ruining your cash flow every month to give. And then I know, from a standpoint of being in the industry and dealing with people who like to give to their churches and stuff, you know, I don't, I won't ever tell anybody not to give to their church. Now, I will tell you not to be taken advantage of. If you are sitting somewhere and someone is calling for and offering you do not feel it in your heart to give, do not be pressured into giving. And I know that's another whole other topic, could be for a whole nother day. Um,
Well, the Bible just it does say we're not supposed to give under compulsion, so it's
exactly.
biblical.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people who feel compelled to give when they're sitting in services, and people are calling for offerings and stuff. If you don't feel it, keep your wallet closed, especially if you know that's that's money that's going to be used for something else. Give as you feel led to give. The Bible also says God loves a cheerful giver. And so be happy when you give, and don't just give to people, but also from a standpoint of giving, have the right mindset about it as well. Don't just go and take all the resources and take all the teachings from someone who is pouring into you night and day, and giving you good wisdom, and then you don't pour back into them. Like, that is not biblical. That is wrong. So definitely, wherever you're getting fed at, make sure you pour back into that, because that is a part of the, like, what I like to call like the frequency of prosperity. That's part of it.
Dope, dope. All right, we got a fifth piece to this puzzle. What's pillar five?
Yes, absolutely. So pillar 5 is what I like to think is the most important, and it's all about mindset. You have a mindset like Christ, right? So, I mean, Jesus didn't walk this earth, and every time he did a miracle, he was thinking in his head, like, I don't know if I could do this, but let's see if it's gonna work, right? He was really like, all right, done. Like, I got all power in my hands. I can do it. Even the story of, you know, the man, I think it was with his son, it's somewhere in Mark, and he was like, help my, I believe, but help my unbelief, all at the same time. It's like, come on, you gotta just believe. All things are possible to those who believe. If you keep telling yourself the story that you'll never be good with money, that you'll never have money, and all of these things when it comes to finances like that, then you really literally never will. Um, but if you continue to train your mind and just pour good things into your mind, into your spirit, listening to good stuff, reading good stuff that can help you elevate your thinking from being a person that's always like, Lord, help me get out of this, Lord, help me do this, to Lord, I'm taking my steps. Bless me as I bless, like, order my steps as I continue walking. Like, I'm not going to stay stuck here in a cycle of poverty and in a cycle of financial insecurity. Like, I want to build. Lord, help me be a builder. I don't want to be a beggar anymore. Help me to be a builder, and help me to take steps of faith without seeing the whole staircase, and help me to give without thinking I need something in return, and help me to serve without thinking that because I obeyed you, like, I deserve to have financial blessings, because I feel like a lot of people kind of get into that as well. It's like, well, I do this and I do that and I do this, so I deserve da da da, and like throwing a temper tantrum, and I feel like we've all been there. It's throwing a temper tantrum. It's a little bit of spiritual immaturity, but you get to the point where it's like, all right, you know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to step out. And wherever you take it is where you take it. But from a standpoint of, I believe in this, I'm going to invest in it, and I'm going to see where it goes. And everything's not always going to be right. Everything's not always going to pop off. Mistakes are going to happen. Left steps are going to happen, but you keep going. And you just have an unwavering belief that God is going to order my footsteps every single step of the way. Every investment I make, if it pops, it pops. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's going to move me on to something else. Like, everything is an opportunity.
Now, you've walked a lot of people through these pillars. You've helped like turn light bulbs on for a lot of people when it comes to the Bible and their money. After they get exposed to this information and after they try to pursue this new way of moving and operating with their money, where have you seen people give pushback or trip up? Because I want to make sure that the people that are listening and watching, they're aware of obstacles that may pop up, because this isn't, anytime you try to do something different than what you've been doing for so long, it is a process. So, what do you want people to know ahead of time as they pursue to align their money up with the Bible?
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you straight up, as soon as you make a decision to do right, you are going to face all of the opposition in the world. It is like a unknown, like, universal principle. As soon as you make a decision, I'm going to do right, everything that's going to try to take you off course is going to come at you. Like, it will just happen. There's no other way around it. Is going to happen, but you need to be prepared for it. And this is where the mindset piece comes in, because if your mindset is not, you know, rooted in, I'm going to do this, then you will easily fall off, and you're going to continue to repeat the same cycle. But eventually you get to a point where you break through the resistance, and then things are just going to flow. Like, things will flow much better, but you have to prepare yourself. And this is where, when you make a decision, you might need to change the people who you're around, change what you're listening to, change what you're reading, because you're going to need, find good mentorship, because those are the things that's going to keep you on track as you're facing that opposition when you decide to make a decision to do something different. The opposition is definitely going to come, but you got to be so steadfast in your decision, like, I'm going to do this no matter what, come hell or high water. I'm going to figure this money thing out. And once you do, and you finally break through that level of resistance, it's going to be so worth it. But a lot of people get stuck. Like, a couple things. The first thing is like, all right, they may get past the first thing that comes at them. But after like 2 and 3, they'd be like, well, this don't work for me. Every time I try to save money, all this, this, that, and the third happens. Or, like Les Brown likes to call it, Murphy's Law, comes around. And if something can go wrong, it's definitely going to go wrong. But you got to keep your head, as they say, keep your head on the swivel and stay focused. Like, stay focused on the end goal, and make a decision that you're going to do it no matter what. No matter what comes, make a decision. You are going to do it no matter what. It's just resistance. We're all going to face it, but you got to break through it.
Good stuff. Now, you said you had a guide where it unpacks this information a little bit more. So, where can people get that guide?
Absolutely. So the guide it's called The Believer's Guide to Faith and Money. It will be back up on my website shortly at kaylawalter.com. We're getting that back up, but it looks like this. It's Believer's Guide to Faith and Money, and it actually unpacks all the 5 pillars with scripture references for you to go and look at them, so y'all know, like, I'm not just spitting this off the top of my head. It actually is in the Bible, and you can go look it up, for yourself.
Cool. And social media, I'm sure people are dying to check you out so they can keep up with you as you continue to give out wisdom. Where can they find you?
Absolutely. So on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, it is Kayla M. Walter, number one. So KaylaMWalter, number one.
As we prepare to close out, what's your last bit of encouragement for people that are going to do what you have challenged us to do? And for those who are wondering, are they, capable of making this shift in their thinking? Are they able to move their finances more closely aligned with the scriptures? How would you try to encourage them to pursue anyhow as they leave this episode?
Absolutely. Just know that small investments can reap big rewards as well. So I've heard it been said, anybody can tell you how many seeds are in an apple, but nobody can tell you how many apples come from the seed. So you think about it that way. Small investments can lead to big rewards. Just stay focused. Make a decision, go for it.
Love it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another fantastic edition of the His and Her Money Show is in the books. I hope that you took good notes. I told you Kayla was going to drop nuggets and wisdom, and she even gave you some scripture references. I hope you took notes. If not, definitely go and pick up her guide. We have the link to everything that she mentioned in the show notes of this episode. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, make sure you look under the video in the description box, and you will find all the information there. That's all we got for this time, guys. Remember, you can get insight and information just like this over at our website, hisandhermoney.com. Until next time, guys, peace.